Arch YouTube page. And just a special note, we won't be admitting AI companions into these meetings. We do record the meetings, and as a matter of course, we do like to have the opportunity to redact if necessary to protect confidentiality. So although we don't allow those AIs in, you can always access these meetings on the Arch YouTube page. So I've already not allowed one in, so just know that that's why. Um, Today, we have guest speaker Jencie Olivier from Hearts of Hope, who will be sharing information regarding Hearts of Hope services, activities during Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and the intersection of the unhoused, homeless service providers, and SA. Next month, sorry, I'm still admitting people. Next month, we will have Tanya Thompson and Dana Bordelon with the Alexandria VA healthcare system, under whose umbrella Acadiana falls for veteran homelessness services. And so we're really looking forward to next month. And then if we're looking ahead to June, we will do a regional look back on 2025. So rather than a quarterly review, because we've had so many great speakers, we decided we would just do like a mid-year, this is what's happened in 2025, share some data and some updates from each of the agencies. The federal environment continues to be highly uncertain, and we continue to wait for updates regarding federal funding. We're waiting for expectations from HUD. We're waiting for policy changes. Members of Congress returned to their offices in DC on Monday, April 28th, after a 2-week spring recess. And they'll be taking up several priorities, including federal funding for fiscal year 26. They were unable to reach a final agreement on an updated spending bill. So in March, Congress passed a continuing resolution to extend the previous year's, that's fiscal 24, funding for federal programs through fiscal year 25. It's certainly created an atmosphere of precariousness for homeless service providers. It's been difficult to plan for the future. We're all still waiting for renewal grant agreements for fiscal year 2024, and they seem to be coming erratically or in a staggered manner to various agencies across the country. So we remain cautiously optimistic. Arch has also continued to advocate for the importance of emergency housing vouchers. We talked about that sunsetting early, several years early, at our last meeting. And we've also continued to advocate for continued funding for Medicaid. And we've been meeting with legislators representing Louisiana. While we wait for more developments, if you feel so inclined, please reach out to your members of Congress and let them know the impact of these delays and changes on our community specifically. We've met with them at length. I think that we got a certain level of sympathy about the situation, but you are their constituents. And so if you need additional talking points or additional information, please reach out with any questions. My email is on the screen right now. It's elsa@archacadiana.org. I'm also going to drop right now in the chat uh, a one-click way to participate that the National Low Income Housing Coalition offers. Here we go. But again, calling, emailing, setting up a meeting, anybody can set up a meeting, guys. If you vote, you can request a meeting. Hearing from you directly is always more powerful, but an easy way to participate, a quick way to participate. I know everybody's time is so scarce. I dropped that in the chat, and you can click on it and you can speak on behalf of you yourself, your individual, or if you're able to speak on behalf of your agency or your organization or your company, please do that. I wanted to share with you a new analysis to the point that we were speaking about earlier from the National Alliance to End Homelessness that shows the impact of potentially eliminating HUD-funded housing subsidy programs. There has been a number of national reports, mainstream news outlets, talking about Section 8 and things of that nature being cut. And so more than 9 million people receive housing assistance through rental assistance programs. And by that, I'm including public housing, Section 8, Section 202, Section 811, and housing choice vouchers that are run by HUD. So that's 9 million people. Okay, so here is a map. And you can see by the color, we fall into definitely a state that relies heavily on federal rental assistance here in Louisiana. We don't anticipate the elimination, but wanted to offer to you a map that would show who is at risk of homelessness if that federal rental assistance was eliminated. And so if we want to look at Louisiana specifically, we're looking at 174,000, and when they say people, they mean households, in Louisiana would be at risk. And that impact is stark. 1/3 of that 174,000 people are older adults. Um, in Lafayette Parish alone, this would impact 7,000 households. So just keeping in mind when we're talking about people being at risk of homelessness, the homeless service sector would, and particularly emergency shelter sector, would, in the event that housing assistance were dramatically cut, would have to absorb up to 7,000 additional households in Lafayette Parish alone. Okay, and this does not include people who are receiving permanent supportive housing, other permanent housing or rapid rehousing assistance, unless it's funded through one of the programs that I listed before. So public housing, Section 8, Section 202, Section 811, and housing choice vouchers. And it also doesn't include people who live in units that receive federal funding to preserve their affordability, like Section 236 or moderate rehabilitation. Okay, so this is a conservative estimate of the people that would be affected. So when you're thinking about how does this affect me, maybe you're in the healthcare industry, maybe you are in a faith-based organization, maybe you are in something adjacent to housing, it's going to have a ripple effect on our entire social service. Any cut is going to have a ripple effect on our entire social service industry. To that point, a reminder regarding May 1st. I've been mentioning it the last several months. We are going to be co-hosting the first Louisiana Homelessness and Housing Justice Action Day at the state capitol from 1:30 to 3:30. That's next Thursday, so a week from today. And Arch is doing it in partnership with Unity of Greater New Orleans. Unity is Orleans and Jefferson Parish's largest service provider, as well as the lead agency for that continuum of care. And we're also doing it in partnership with the newly formed Louisiana Advocacy Coalition on Homelessness. If you are able to come, okay, if you would like to come, if you are planning to come, we are asking that you fill out a short form so that we can help plan and so that we can also help coordinate rides. And so I am going to copy this link and drop it in the link. I'm also going to be emailing it to you, but please go ahead and open this link now so that you don't have to wait for me to send that email out. It's a short form, literally will take you about 25 seconds to complete. It's just your name, email, phone number, and then questions like, are you driving yourself? Do you have room in your car? Do you want to come, but you don't have a ride? It's not letting me fill it out. Okay, I'm going to go in while Jencie is speaking, and I will open that up Says the deadline. That was because, yes, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and amend that, and I will let you all know that it's active by the end of this meeting. But again, that short form allows us to plan and coordinate. The other thing is if you could either ride with somebody or drive, then answer yes to both questions. Yes, I'm looking for a ride. Yes, I could drive people. And that way we know and we can coordinate. The deadline to complete this form is Monday at noon. So that we give you all plenty of time to know, to coordinate with one another. We're going to hook people up and say, hey, this is the group that's going in your car. This is where you all are meeting, et cetera, similar to the way we do pick count. Again, the obligation is, travel time to Baton Rouge. It runs from 1:30 to 3:30 and then travel home. So it's about a half day obligation. Also, if you're like, look, I can only do 1:30 to 2:30, that's great because we're going to be out on the stairs of the state capitol out on the stairs of the state capitol from 1:30 until I believe 2. And after that, we'll be doing meetings with legislators. So if you're like, hey, I can only make it a little bit, then please come so that we look like that we present in a robust way on the steps of the state capitol. One more announcement from Arch, and that is the share house. We're doing okay with mattresses and box springs, but it's very much, it comes in and it goes immediately out. And so that's when we get kind of nervous. So if you can post maybe in your neighborhood group or your agency, or you hear of a company that's trying to offload some mattresses and box springs that are in good condition, please, point them in the direction of Share House. Share House is closed and will reopen next Tuesday. We closed for this week. There was a number of things going on, plus festival. It just made a lot of sense. And so starting next Tuesday, we will again resume collecting donations. And of course, if pickups are necessary, you can email Rachel, Rachel, at archacadiana.org. We're also in need of pots and pans, but of course, mattresses and box springs are our primary concern. So at this time, wanted to see if anybody else had any announcements. If you have any events that are coming up, are you starting any new programs? Are there any trainings or advocacy opportunities that you know of? Do you have any board announcements or staffing announcements? Or anything that you may just want to throw out to the community for some crowdsourced solutions. You can go ahead and take yourself off of mute. I know we've got a small group today. There's so much going on. Okay.
Hi, this is Rebecca with Faith House.
Hey.
Just a real quick announcement. I noticed some people are calling our new shelter in Mansura is Maison de la Paix, House of Peace is what we named it. So just to let y'all know, we're still trying to get through a few fire marshal things before we completely open up to the public. So I'll let y'all know as soon as the shelters actually open. But I did see, some people talking about it. So we're excited. We want people there, but I'll give y'all a heads up as soon as we open to the public for good.
Perfect. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you.
I also wanted to, I guess a couple of weeks ago, Iberia Homeless Shelter celebrated their 20th anniversary, and Nicole and I were able to go down and celebrate with them. And so a huge congratulations to them for staying open and strong and growing over the last 20 years. Does anyone else have any updates that they'd like to share?
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Chris, how are you?
Hey, good. This is Chris Williams with Sun Community Housing Development Organization and CDC. A couple of announcements. We'll be putting out a statement today about as we have these extreme weather events, that we not forget those people who are who are experiencing these weather events every time the weather event happens. When it's hot, what they incur when it's cold, and of course days like today when it's wet. And so, in dealing with a lot of the communities over the last few years, there is a lot of stigma attached to affordable housing and having safe, sanitary, and affordable housing. And so we just got to remember that to keep the public policy people updated with making sure that the discussion is comprehensive. And to that end, today and tomorrow we'll be closing out an initiative that we have to fortify roofs. It's a grant of up to $13,250. We have about 10 slots left. There are some specific provisions that have to be adhered to in this particular initiative. It has to be a house that's on a slab, and the criteria is that they have to be homeowners. But if anybody's interested, I'll ask Ariel to put the flyer in the notes, and they can call today or tomorrow at 337-501-7617.
7617. Yep.
Yeah, 501-7617. Yeah.
Thanks. And Chris just dropped that in the chat for anyone who would like that info. Are you going to drop the flyer in there as well? Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, yes, absolutely. We need to keep top of mind. We hear a lot about the businesses. We're really super concerned about festival with the weather last night, but keeping in mind that those who have houses that may not have the weatherization that's necessary or top of the line weatherization were affected by this morning's weather. So thank you so much for that reminder. Any other updates or announcements or questions that you'd like to share? Okay, well, without further ado, I would really like to welcome Jencie Olivier. I've had the pleasure of working with Hearts of Hope for many years prior to my time at Arch, and their approach to serving is really unmatched. I know you're about to learn so much. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing now, and Jencie, you will be able to use it, however, share your screen if you'd like.
Might help if I mute myself. Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and start. There we go. Everybody can see it fine? Okay, perfect. So my name is Jencie Olivier. I am from Hearts of Hope. I have been at Hearts of Hope for about 12 years now. And today I'm going to kind of talk to you a little bit about Hearts of Hope and what we do here, over there. I am the Sexual Abuse Response Center and Sexual Assault Response Team Coordinator. And so at Hearts of Hope, we are the only trauma center in Lafayette, Louisiana. We provide all services for people who are affected by sexual abuse. We are kind of your one-stop shop for sexual abuse. We are the only center that's unique in the state where we house all 3 sexual assault programs all under one roof. So today I'm going to talk to you about our different programs. We have our Children's Advocacy Center, our SANE program, which is CAC, it stands for Children's Advocacy Center, our SANE program, which is Sexual Assault Nurse Examiners, and our Sexual Assault Response Team. So these 3 entities are all under one roof, and we're able to kind of help those services. So I'm going to briefly talk about our CAC program and our Sexual Assault Nurse Examiners, but I'm mainly going to focus on the program that I work under, which is a Sexual Assault Response Team. This is a team that kind of goes out to the hospitals, and you'll learn more about that. So I'm going to spend quite a bit of time talking about that, but I always want to highlight all of the work that we do here at Hearts of Hope. So our Children's Advocacy Center, they provide services for children who have been sexually assaulted or have physical abuse. They have advocacy services, which include court accompaniment. They help with restraining orders, court preparations, and referrals. So the Children's Advocacy Center is really when a child discloses abuse allegations, we are a safe place that a child can come and tell their story without having to go to a scary police station or any other type of agencies. We have forensic interviewers who are specially trained to interview kids when they have disclosed abuse allegations. So these interviewers go through intensive training and continuing training to provide that service for those kids. They work closely with law enforcement and DCFS. And law enforcement and DCFS actually come to our office and they participate in these forensic interviews that are done by the kids, that are done for the kids. So it's just a place where they can tell their story. And when that family comes in, we have that whole family approach. So we want to make sure that that whole family is receiving services and getting the best care possible. The Children's Advocacy Center also has a human trafficking coordinator, and that person is for kids who are 17 and under who are identified as high risk or potential for trafficking or are identified as a child that has been trafficked. So this year, our Children's Advocacy since January through March, so our first quarter of the year, they have done 109 forensic interviews. That's 109 kids that have came to Hearts of Hope and came through our doors to see families. We have done 77 family sessions, so we've met with 77 families and provided those services for them. The next program I'm going to talk about is our sexual assault nurse examiners. These are nurses who are trained to gather evidence off of a sexual assault survivor. These nurses go through, again, an intensive training. The state has they have a certain amount of training that they have to go to. So these are registered nurses who get specifically trained in sexual assault. These nurses know how to perform the kids in a little bit of a different way than any other kind of normal nurse would know how. They understand trauma. They understand what a sexual assault survivor goes through whenever, because your body is the crime scene, and how to do that in a kind of a survivor-centered response. They also know how to photograph injuries. They also know how to guide their exam and how to collect that evidence. So at Hearts of Hope, we have on-site exams that we can conduct. So instead of a survivor having to go to the hospital, they can actually come to our office and they can have that kit done where they're not having to go spend those hours. We do have a triaging process that we go through in order to see if a survivor qualifies to have an on-site exam. There's certain things like medical, if the person needs to get x-rays, those kinds of things that we can't handle on-site, and they would actually need to go to the emergency room. But we can definitely guide and help those people. Another unique thing that our sexual assault nurse program does is, in conjunction with the Children's Advocacy Center, they do medical exams for follow-up kids when they have disclosed abuse allegations as kind of a body safe and checkup to make sure they don't have STIs or any other kind of medical needs that the child might need to get met. And it's done with a nurse who does it specifically, who is trained in trauma care. So the next program I'm going to talk to, I know I'm flying through. The next program I'm going to talk about is our Sexual Abuse Response Center. This is my team, and you can see our picture of my team that we took at our event that we recently had. So this is all of the staff that works here. We provide services for the Acadiana area. So our service area is Lafayette, Vermilion, Acadia, St. Martin, Iberia, and St. Mary parishes. So those are all the areas that we cover, and I'm going to kind of go through all of the things. But first, I kind of like to talk a little bit of the history about the Sexual Assault Response Center. So the Sexual Assault, we were formerly known as the Rape Crisis Center. It began in 1981. What happened was a nurse saw that a doctor had mistreated a person who came in and said they were sexually assaulted. The doctor actually had said that that person wasn't pretty enough to get sexually assaulted. No one would want to sexually assault that person. And so this nurse took a stand, and the Sexual Assault Center started in the basement of the University Medical Center. So I think it's UHC now. In that hospital, it started at the bottom of there. So this is our oldest program at Hearts of Hope. In 1991, we merged with Stellar Place, so we wanted to have a strengthening response to sexual assault in Acadiana. So we all merged together at the Children's Advocacy Center and the Sexual Assault Response Center. And then I'm really terrible at years. A few years later, we went from Stellar Place to Hearts of Hope. We changed our name. I think that was it was in 2008. In 2008, we changed the name from Stellar Place to Hearts of Hope, and embraced that change for our agency. So some of y'all might be familiar with the name of Stellar Place. So what do we do at the Sexual Assault Response Center? We have a few different programs. We have a few different things that kind of all act under one roof. The main thing that we have is we have our advocacy services. So we have our 24-hour crisis line when anyone can call our crisis line to receive any types of services. It's free, it's anonymous. This is how people call and ask those questions like, was I assaulted? Or people will call for a friend. So this is our main source of how people come in. The 24-hour crisis line is also where law enforcement or any other agencies will call and ask questions about any types of services, or what do I do? This person's been sexually assaulted. How do I get them the help? That is what that 24-hour crisis line is there. We also have ER accompaniment. So we will respond 24 hours a day to emergency departments in our service area. So we have a 24-hour response in Lafayette, Vermilion, and St. Martin parishes. We're working on all of the other parishes, but during office hours, we will always go out to those hospitals and provide those services. So sexual assault survivors have the right to have an advocate present while they have a sexual assault kit done. And that's what our advocates go in and inform them of what their rights are. Our advocates will provide, ensure that their rights are being met. That was as stated in the Survivor Bill of Rights. They will talk to them about having an anonymous kit done and what that looks like. So any person who reports to a hospital that's 18 years and up does not have to report their assault to law enforcement. They can have an anonymous kit done, and that kit will be held up for 20 years. So our ER advocates are really the people that go out and tell survivors, hey, you've been sexually assaulted. These are your options available, and these are the things that you can do. Our 24-hour crisis line and an ER accompaniment are done either by a staff member or volunteers. So our 24-hour crisis line is manned by volunteers after office hours and on the weekends and holidays, and the same thing goes for our ER accompaniment. Once a survivor goes through that, or goes through ER, comes in, we do provide case of coordination. So we will have a safe place for them to come to our office, and we will inform the survivor and help them navigate. Who do you report this to? What does it look like when you talk to a law enforcement officer? How do we get all of that? Of course, we do all of this with consent and sign. We will provide court accompaniment. So we will go with them to court hearings. We help with temporary protective orders and help them file those protective orders. Any referrals for safety, any referrals to any other agencies that they might need. And then we have case tracking through our sexual assault response teams. So these are multidisciplinary teams that meet once a month, and we go over what is the best victim-centered response for our community? How do we best provide and support survivors in our area? And what is everybody's protocols on it, and how can we best get that care to that person? Another main part of our sexual assault response team is a main part of our sexual assault reviews team is that we provide counseling services, not only to those survivors who have been affected by sexual assault, but any support persons, any other person who cares for that is affected, that has a connection with that survivor, can receive counseling services. We do those in person, and then we also provide those through our support groups. So we have a few different support groups, and I have some slides to show y'all. The first support group we have is our adult survivor group. They meet on Tuesdays, and this can be any survivor. All they have to do is call our 24-hour crisis line, or they can reach out to Ann, who is our counselor, and we do a brief intake with them. But they can show up, and we have that group. We also have a teen survivor group that helps those teens. And again, the same thing is they can show up or call our 24-hour crisis line. With teens, we want to make sure that their case has been reported before they can come through. We have an LGBTQ plus IA survivor group that meets on Thursdays between 1 and 2. And then we have our caregiver group that meets on Wednesdays from 5:30 to 7:30. So these groups are a sense of support for survivors. So they have a community to know that they are not alone in this, and that they have a group of people that are there to support them. Since January, we have provided 91 counseling sessions to survivors and new clients that have came through. So this is all ages. This is not just for our sexual abuse response center. This is from our kids to our adults. So that's 91 people that have came through here for services. The next thing I like to go through is just kind of some data and some statistics so that we can kind of know how prevalent sexual assault is in our community. So every year in Lafayette Parish, approximately 100 victims report to local emergency rooms. This translates to a victim every 3 days. Our quarterly reports, so from January through March, we've had 20 ER call outs. In the past 2 weeks, we're averaging 6 call outs a week just in our Acadiana area in those hospitals. Here are some national statistics of sexual assault and how prevalent it is. So 1 in 61 men have experienced rape or attempted rape in the United States. 1 in 2 women have experienced sexual violence and rape in their lifetime. I'm sorry, 1 in 5 was the men. I was reading the other one. So these are just kind of some data. I'll let y'all take a look out of it of things of rape. So last year, this is kind of our sexual assault response center. We had 140 advocacy clients. So that's the people that came to us requesting services, just wanted information about sexual assault. What do they do about their sexual assault? We provided 210 advocacy services. So that's criminal justice advocacy, any type of like helping people access services, going to court, filing protective orders, all of those things. We had 96 mental health clients and 97 ERs in 2024. Okay, so when we talk about housing insecurities and its intersection with sexual assault, we just want people to know that we are a safe place to come. When people have housing insecurities, this puts them at a much higher risk of harm, especially sexual violence, because it thrives in these environments where people are isolated, vulnerable, and unprotected. And for many unhoused individuals, this is a daily reality of what they do. So at 2 a.m., we are the people that go out, and a lot of times we will have people who just want to have a place that they can sleep for one night. They may have a hotel room that they have booked for the whole week, and that that they want to go back to that place, but they just want to feel safe, and they just need other services, especially like clothing. They don't know if they want to report. So I'm going to kind of go through some of those things. There are several reasons why unhoused individuals face elevated risk. It could often be sleeping in different spaces, not having a not having a strong support system, which is why they might be targeted more easily. Then there's the power dynamic of people who are in crisis. They are forced in unsafe situations just to strive. Youth, LGBTQ plus people, women in communities, and just due to like system inequalities. Many of people who are at vulnerable risk, a lot of times they may not know what sexual assault is, or they may not know the dynamics of sexual assault. A lot of times they will call or they'll talk to other people, and then they'll realize, hey, that I was assaulted, and what do I do about those things? So the impact of sexual assault on someone who's already dealing with housing insecurities can be really devastating for them. It's not just the physical harm, which is STIs, but there's also the emotional trauma. Many survivors develop PTSD, depression, or suicidal thoughts. They often have nowhere to turn. And when it comes to reporting, there are huge barriers. There are fear of retaliation. There are fear that they simply won't be believed, or their trust in the institutions have already been broken. So these are kind of the things that are impact. We work closely with agencies and everyone else in the community to have that, we provide that mental health, but sometimes it's simple as how do we get them more clothing, or how do we provide them with a shelter, that where the shelter is trauma informed and that they know about inclusivity and they're going to treat this person respectfully. We want to make sure that we're providing those referrals to the community and agencies. So partly why I'm presenting here today is to kind of put our name out there, but also to make those connections so that we can provide the best care for our survivors and to know about what agencies are out there to help us in those things. So the work that we do, we are hugely impacted by our volunteer work. So if you're interested in volunteering with us, Lawan Milstead is a person who you can talk to. There is on our webpage, there is a place where you can sign up to volunteer, or you can scan the QR code that's on the screen. That'll take you to how to get in touch with our volunteer coordinator. But like I said earlier, our volunteers help provide services through our crisis line advocate and then advocacy, and they also go out to the emergency room. April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and although we're kind of wrapping up our Sexual Assault Awareness Month, Denim Day is April 30th. And Denim Day is something that I have a passion for, and I really want to make it a huge thing. It's something that every person that in any agency can participate. All you have to do is wear jeans on April 30th. And post your photos to social media. You can hashtag Denim Day, Hearts of Hope. Please tag us in it so that we can see. But I'll kind of tell you a little bit of the history. In 1999, the Italian Supreme Court overturned a rape conviction stating that the woman wore tight jeans, so she must have helped remove them, implying consent in her sexual assault. So the next day, the women in the Italian parliament wore jeans to protest, and then that's how Denim Day was born. So we wear denim to provide awareness, solidarity, and to stand with sexual assault survivors and violence. So I would really appreciate if anybody who wears denim just to take a picture. I'm going to give you my email. Y'all can email it to me with your branding, but we want everyone to stand in solidarity with sexual assault survivors and in that violence with everyone. So that is our main event that anybody can do that is free. That's coming up. These are our main contacts. So if you wanted to take a picture of this or have it, this is how you can get people in touch with us. This is our 24-hour crisis line if anybody wants to email us a question, and then our website. And then here is my contact information, my email, my direct line. And then this is our little Hearts of Hope staff. And I want to thank you, Elsa, and everyone for giving me the time to present, giving me the space to talk about what we do here at Hearts of Hope.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jencie. Let me ask you, is it possible for you to send me these slides and I'll pull those 2 contact slides so that people can have them?
Yeah,
Because we can
absolutely.
send that out. Okay, great. Let me ask you a question. I'm going to ask a couple and then open it up to whomever has some. What's the ask of volunteers? Like, how long is the training? And then what are you obligating yourself to, like, moving forward?
Perfect. So the training is a 40-hour training that is mandated by law, but the 40-hour training is done online at your own pace. The Louisiana Foundation Against Sexual Assault, which is our state coalition, came up with the training. And so you do it online at your own pace. There is about an hour to an hour and a half training that you come in and actually do it with our volunteer coordinator, but that's to go over policies and procedures and to kind of make sure that you feel comfortable in what you're doing, and you go over scenarios and just different things like that. We ask that you take the minimum of 2 shifts a month, and a shift is after office hours, so from 5 p.m. To 8 a.m. the next day. And then on the weekends, we have a morning shift and then a night shift. So you have like an 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and then a 5 p.m. to 8 a.m. So if you're not a night person and you like to do it during the day, then you can be that day person. For the crisis line, you don't have to go anywhere. The crisis line is transferred to your phone, so you just have to be the person to answer it. And you just have to say rape crisis when you see a number, so you have to answer strange calls. But all of your normal calls go through. Your caller ID still works for your normal calls. It's just that the crisis, you have to be able to hang up and be able to answer that crisis line. So it's
Gotcha.
great if you can't travel. It's great for people who are retired or just are looking for experience.
I'm really excited to hear about not having to report to law enforcement if that's not something you're interested in, particularly our clients who I think might be a little reticent sometimes to do that, but still being able to get a rape kit done at the hospital. That's something I didn't know. So thank you for sharing that. What is y'all's greatest need right now? Either from the public at large or from like our individual agencies?
Yeah, I mean, we need support. Right now, we really are looking for resources and to connect, especially like with housing insecurities and the type of population that we have. A lot of times with sexual assault survivors, their clothing is taken. And although we do have crime victims reparations, that doesn't cover the clothes that they are missing or the bedding or any of those things, or in the event that they have to move. So sometimes it's just basic needs that people need. That is a big secure thing. And to spread the awareness just by saying like, hey, I attended this presentation today and I heard about this agency, Hearts of Hope. Can you go check them out? Like just by talking about us and spreading awareness is the biggest thing, especially during this month and with festival going on and all of those things. Our culture around here surrounding festivals and everything else and drinking and alcohol, a lot of times that can happen, sexual assault can happen, and just knowing that we're available and to help if somebody has questions.
Gotcha. Thank you so much. The floor is open. Drop a question if you have one in the chat or take yourself off mute.
I was wondering if you can, I mean, without compromising any confidentiality, if you can say a little bit more about your partnership with law enforcement. Like, do y'all have like a particular contact person in the police department that you deal with, or a few people, or how does that work?
So that is part of our sexual assault response team that we have, and we have it in all the areas. So each law enforcement agency has a person that represents their agency, which is our contact person who we call if we have questions or problems. Our role as an advocate is to make sure that that survivor is treated kindly and that they have the respect. But law enforcement also has to follow their protocol. So if a person does want to report, with their consent, we're going to figure out what law enforcement agency they have to report to. How do you go about that? Can we get them to come here? Do we have to go through a patrol officer, or can a detective come here? So we're going to present that survivor with all of those options when they come in so that they're not having to do all of those things that kind of make people frustrated when you have to make all of those phone calls. And so we do a lot of work with law enforcement on having that victim-centered response and understanding trauma and understanding how to treat people with respect, but there's always ways to improve and there's always people coming in and out. So that's part of like the training and other things that we do.
Okay, thanks.
Is there support as far as through the court system? If you all aren't able to or don't offer that support, are there particular lawyers or is there like a justice, social service opportunity for people as they move through that if they're interested in pressing charges and what have you?
Yeah, so we provide that service. So we go with them to meet with any appointments they have with their ADAs, any appointments with the district attorney's office. As long as they're consenting, we provide that service and we're there. So we're there from start all the way until the end of it, as long as that person. We will also track those cases. So we work with the district attorney's office to see when those court dates are coming up. What does that court date mean, and explain those things besides the letter. Each judicial district does have a victims assistant coordinator who provides those letters. Survivors have the right to be informed about their court case, and so they receive letters of every single court case that is going, like where it's at, if there's a pretrial hearing, if there is a trial coming up. They receive those letters for those things, and then they have a coordinator that will typically meet and set up a safe place for them to go to. But there's a lot of moving parts. So we're kind of that center response to kind of help those survivors navigate those things.
And for people who are not English speakers, are there any services or translation services or coordination?
So we use the language line. So we have that, and then we have all of our documents that we give in our consent forms are converted to Spanish so that they can read those things in their language.
Excuse me. All right. Does anybody else have any questions? Just take yourself off mute or drop them in the chat. I see Kimberly Young, Hearts of Hope currently has some funding to assist survivors with legal services.
Oh,
Such as
yes, we
protection
do.
orders. Yeah.
Yes, we do. We have a funding that where we have an attorney that will help provide either general legal questions, represent them for the protective order, just kind of help guide navigate through that legal part of the civil side of things.
What a huge resource. Any other questions? Take yourself off mute or put them in the chat. Okay, so just for clarity's sake, and I think that there's a lot of opportunities to coordinate with Hearts of Hope, I think moving forward with our homeless service providers for sure. And definitely this should be a continuing conversation. But if we do have a client who presents at an emergency shelter and they report that, you know, they've been a victim of something that either they define as sexual assault or we're defining for them, rather if even if they are not aware that that falls within the the definition, we can just reach out to you or have them reach out to you all. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. You can come through our 24-hour crisis line. I say our crisis line because that's 24 hours. So no matter whatever time, that line will help you get in touch with whoever you need to. And then we will walk you through what those options are and what that looks like. So even though it's manned by volunteers, we always have a staff member available to assist.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you, Jencie. I really appreciate you coming and doing this and proactively like reaching out to me and saying, "Hey, I'd like to do this." And that goes to anybody. If you feel like there's information that you have or a presentation that you have on hand or would like to develop and get out there, please just drop me an email because this was fabulous. And honestly, I wouldn't have thought to reach out. If I'm being honest, I will now. But I really appreciate you being so proactive about it. Um, and a reminder, April 30th, wear your denim, take a picture, let Jencie know that you did it, tag them on social media, and let's let everybody know that that we stand up for people who have experienced sexual assault, sexual abuse, etc. It's time that we be a strong coalition. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I did want to hear, I'm dropping again the bit.ly in the chat. It is live. Thank you, Clancy, for trying it immediately. Really appreciate that. And it works. And again, if you can either, you want to go and you can either drive or ride, then say yes to both questions. And again, that form takes about 20 seconds, but really as many of you all who are able to attend as possible would really, really appreciate it. There are folks coming from across the state and we want to make sure that Acadiana is well represented. Is there anything else that anyone would like to bring up? Maybe they thought about while this meeting was going on that they forgot to share earlier. Okay, well, I really appreciate you joining us today. Please always feel free to reach out to me at elsa@archacadiana.org with any questions or concerns. We look forward to seeing you next month, which is May 22nd, again, the fourth Thursday of the month at noon. Have a really great day. Stay safe and bon festival. Just a general reminder to you all who are staying on, you have to actively leave because we use this same link for a training at 1 o'clock. Elizabeth, are you good? Um, if so, I'm gonna leave and go back to strong towns, big towns, whatever.
Okay. Is there,
I made you host.
you made me host? Okay. Oh, yep. I just saw people entering the waiting room. All right.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much, guys.